Monsieur Macron has been in Israel and and to see President Abbas and the Palestinian Authority, and he's put forward an idea that I must say I entirely endorse, that the Hamas terrorist group should be confronted by an international force, and particularly a force led by Islamic nations. Macron wants that international force to deal with Hamas, and Israel is already calling Hamas interchangeably Hamas and ISIS. And the key priority, the priority is to free the hostages, of which there are a number of French hostages. France lost 30 citizens on the 7th of October. So it is important. And at this time, the section of the Torah which is being read in the synagogue is that section connected to the story of Noah. And in Genesis 6, chapter 6, verse 11, it talks about the world is filled with violence, the world is filled with lawlessness, and the word which is used is Hamas. And there's a very interesting rabbi from the 14th century who is very interested with numerology and with number play and gematria, which is where you count the individual letters in Hebrew. Each letter has a numerical equivalent. And the word Hamas works out as being 108. But the word Gehinnom, which is sometimes translated as hell, but Judaism doesn't really have this sense of an eternal hell, a permanent punishment. Instead, rather like St. Clement of Alexandria, it has an idea that a good God, a loving God, a God of authority, is a God who has created everything that has potential good. In the creation story in Genesis, it says God saw that it was good and it was good. And so even when things go wrong, they still have potential good in them because they have sparks of divinity in them. And that cannot be erased. It just has to be found, discovered. And so the idea of hell, the idea of Gehinnom, is more an idea akin to purgatory, a temporary ghastliness. And that is also a word which numerically comes out as 108. So Hamas and Gehinnom, violence and hell, are two words in the Hebrew story which come very close to each other, almost interchangeable. That is what we are going through. And the problem with hell, the problem with purgatory, the problem with evil, is that it is infectious. And we saw this in the Russian-Ukraine conflict. We see it now very clearly in the Hamas-Israeli conflict. Evil is infectious. The evil of the terrorist atrocity is easily mirrored in a knee-jerk response. And there is nothing positive about the siege of Gaza. What we have to do is to try and avoid the evil. We have to pull back from the evil. The only way to pull back from the evil is with goodness. And the world should respond with goodness. And there's nothing better and more immediately in need, necessary, than goodness and aid. And this is what we should be responding with. I find it extraordinary that there isn't a surge of aid being sent to Gaza, whether it can get into the territory or not. But that is what we must do. We must besiege Gaza with hope. And the only siege that should be surrounding Gaza is one of hope and one of aid, and at the same time a condemnation of Hamas.